This is Dr. Michael Tapper from Lenox Hill Hospital and the Northwell Hofstra School of Medicine in New York City, reporting to you today from the annual meeting of the Infectious Disease Society of America, or so-called IDWeek, and I had the privilege just listening to Dr. Mauro Schecther from the Federal University of Brazil in Rio de Janeiro with a very lucid presentation about Zika. Obviously a major concern, not just in Brazil, but now throughout the Western Hemisphere and other parts of the world, including Southeast Asia and Africa. So I'm just going to turn this over to Dr. Schecther because you had a lot of insights, including some very personal insights about the impact of Zika in Brazil.
Well, Zika is in a way, a different way of thinking today is reminiscent of HIV. One of these things that you don't think of, all of a sudden explodes in a different way. But totally new, out of the blue comes an epidemic that affects directly lives of young people. Basically, because in one way, pregnant women who are going to have babies who have major problems. And although people think in terms of microcephaly, this full spectrum of consequences to the kids is unknown. Old, or not old, because nothing's old in Zika, but retrospective work from the previous two outbreaks in Micronesia and French Polynesia thought that about 1% of the pregnancy led to microcephaly. Work in Brazil, prospective work, is suggesting that it's much, much higher. How higher, we don't know, but much, much higher, and it's not microcephaly. The kids were born apparently with no microcephaly. They end up having deafness, mental retardation, other neurologic syndromes. And then on the other side is the adults, like myself. I had it. I was left with a minor neuropathy, but it is a neuropathy. Mm-hmm. Other people are left with more severe neuropathies. And we don't really know, for instance, like in other flaviviruses, can you get it twice? In general, no. But others like dengue, when you get it twice, the second one might be worse than the first one.
Antibody-mediated enhancement, essentially, which has been speculated about, and particularly because the geography, epidemiology of these three viruses, of chikungunya, of Zika, and dengue, so overlaps. Clinically, you really can't tell them apart, but prior exposure to dengue may, which I don't think the final word is in, may enhance the risk. And that's the question. Is there something about dengue? Is there something about the virus that might have changed? We really don't have any of those answers yet.
The virus, they are phylogenetically different. The virus that was known in the past, that was sort of occasional cases in Africa and Asia, they're phylogenetically very different. You can very well separate them from the so-called now Asian lineage, although they're happening in the Americas. The Asian lineage is the one associated with neurologic damage.
Right. And I think you made the other very important point that you made was vaccine, antivirals, yes, excitement about them, a candidate vaccine, but in the short term, given the full spectrum of emerging virus diseases, and there are obviously, as you said, many more viruses present in developing countries, in Africa, for example, we really have to target mosquito control. Without vector control, if we haven't learned this yet from chikungunya, we haven't learned it from dengue, it's time we learned it. Without good vector control, we'll always be behind in the control of emerging infectious diseases that are mosquito-borne.
In vector control, now, I think I made the point, although briefly, it was easier 30, 40 years ago when anonymization was different. Now, I think it's almost impossible to decrease the vector density in major urban areas.
Because of poverty, because of
crowding, waters. So you need creative ways like genetic modification. Like I mentioned one of these Wolbachia, I don't know the name in English, how to pronounce, it's Wolbachia. Wolbachia.
Right.
So in fact, these are bacteria that infect these insects and don't do nothing to them. But once they're infected, they end up not being able to transmit the virus. That can be major.
It's very interesting because there's been a lot of discussion in the U.S. about genetic modification of mosquitoes, and I think there's a lot of reticence because of this general distrust of government, distrust of science. But I think the answer hopefully will come, and thank you very much for spending time with us. I know it's been a long day for all of us at this meeting, and we've only had the first day of the meeting, so we have 4 or 5 more days to go. Thank you so much,
Thank
Mauro.
you.